Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And here recently there have been a lot of rumors about an Xbox and Nintendo partnership. It does seem like Microsoft is teasing something Nintendo related, and that has led to some speculation that Xbox Game Pass will make its debut on the Nintendo Switch. Is that really what's happening though? Well, we got some new information regarding this subject, so stay tuned for that. Also, a new PlayStation event is incoming, and PlayStation Now got an upgrade, so we will talk about that as well. With that said though, let's jump right into our first topic of the day, and I'm really happy about this one. It Takes Two just passed its first major milestone. That's right, It Takes Two has officially sold more than 1 million units. That is impressive for a game like this, and it's not even been out for a full month. So again, I'm really glad to see it have a successful launch. I really can't think of a game that deserves this more. I believe this game deserves millions upon millions more because it really is that good. Honestly, this is probably my game of the year so far, and it will be really tough to edge it out of that spot. This is legitimately one of the most creative games that I've ever seen. I mean, the story and characters are enjoyable, the gameplay is fun and has a lot of variety, and the level design is absolutely masterful. I really have not played a game that has impressed me this much in a very, very long time. Now, it is a mandatory co-op game, but if you do buy it, which you absolutely should, you do get a free friend pass to where a friend can download the game and then play it with you. So that is a nice way of handling this mandatory co-op stuff, and let me tell you, my friend who played it with me does not usually like platformers or cartoony animated like games. He tends to gravitate towards more gritty type shooters and racing games. So It Takes Two was not his type of game at all, but thankfully after watching the trailer, he decided he would give it a try, and he was absolutely blown away by it as well. It was actually shocking on how much he enjoyed it. He was constantly praising this game as we played it, and that's just a testament to how amazing this game truly is. I do highly encourage you to go check it out yourself, but either way, congratulations to Hazelight on their success. It really is well deserved, and I hope to hear about more success in the future. Now, this is also a busy day for new game releases. There's actually 2 big games releasing today. I always hate when this happens because then I have to choose which one to play first, but yeah, you have Nier Replicant version 1.22 and then Judgement, which is a spin-off to the Yakuza franchise. It originally released for the PS4, but is now being remastered for next-generation consoles, including the Xbox Series and PS5. Well, the reviews have been great so far, with it scoring an 84 on Metacritic. That's not really too surprising. The original was very good, and this is the definitive version, with better performance and all the DLC included. The thing is, this remaster might be a sign of what's to come. There might be a reason that they're trying to revive it for the PS5 and the Xbox Series. So what's happening is that Sega started a Judgement countdown on the official website, and it ends on May 7th. Could this countdown potentially lead to a sequel for Judgement? That remaster would suddenly make a lot more sense to where they can bring in more fans before releasing a sequel. There's more to this though. There was also a new Sega trademark spotted back in March titled Lost Judgment. Well, maybe Lost Judgment shows up here once that countdown ends on May 7th. Now, this is just speculation, of course, but I mean, I hope it's true. Anytime we get more Yakuza games, yeah, I'm in for that. This really has become a premier franchise, and if you haven't played these games yet, and if you like single-player story-driven games, do yourself a favor and play through the Yakuza franchise. There's a reason it's gaining in popularity. These are among the very best story-driven games out right now. So here's to hoping for a Judgment sequel on May 7th. Next up, we got some more Monster Hunter to look forward to. Obviously, Monster Hunter Rise just released last month to a ton of success. I know a lot of Nintendo fans have been enjoying that game, and it really is a good game. However, it's still not complete. Capcom does have plans to release more content throughout the year, and we're going to get an update on what to expect next week. Capcom has officially announced a Monster Hunter event for April 27th. Now, there is a few things happening here though. This is not just for Rise, as it is a big year for the Monster Hunter franchise. They are going to showcase Rise's first free update, which includes, as you would guess, new monsters. If you are into this franchise, that alone is worth tuning in for, but there's also going to be an update for Monster Hunter Stories 2. Now, if you don't know what that game is, it's a sequel to the 3DS turn-based Monster Hunter spin-off. Personally, I think has a very attractive art style that will look good on a handheld device like the Switch. As for the gameplay, to put it short, it's kind of like Pokemon meets Monster Hunter. It sounds strange in theory, but it's surprisingly a good combination, and a lot of fans really liked it. So I am happy to see it get a sequel for the Switch. It's definitely got potential, and I think this game could really surprise some people. At the very least, I think this time around it will probably get a lot more attention with it releasing on the Switch. Either way, Monster Hunter Stories 2 releases on July 9th, and we will get some kind of an update for that game next week on April 27th. While we're on the topic of Nintendo games though, let's talk about the elephant in the room: Xbox and Nintendo. What is the deal with this rumored partnership? We've talked about this in the past, as Phil Spencer seems to be teasing something Switch related. We've had insiders tease that the Nintendo Switch on his shelf meant something, and even recently, another Xbox representative had a Switch on her shelf in a recent video. So it definitely does seem like something is happening, and it seems most fans believe it will be Xbox Game Pass for the Switch. Now, I've talked about this in the past, but I'm just not convinced that's what this is, if there is indeed something happening here. I mean, there really is no guarantee on anything right now, but I just don't know if it makes sense for Nintendo. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it would be really cool, and I like the idea in theory. I would play Game Pass on the Switch myself. However, Game Pass being on the Switch could affect the Nintendo eShop. Some games are on both platforms, and Nintendo might not like the idea of having redundancy like that on the Switch. I mean, they're going to want fans to buy games in the eShop specifically, and Game Pass could detract from that. Now, maybe Xbox and Nintendo could work together to make a special version of Game Pass. I can't rule that out, but we do have some new information today. An analyst by the name of David Gibson took to Twitter to respond to Matt Piscatella saying this: "It would make a lot of sense, but I have had Nintendo tell me directly that they would not put other streaming services on the Switch. Lost opportunity." So according to David Gibson, Nintendo has already said no, or at least they're against the idea. However, with that said, maybe things have changed since he got that information. Things do change over time, but at the very least, it would seem Nintendo would need a lot of convincing. I think it's believable what he's saying here though. I think Microsoft would love to have Game Pass on the Switch. That would be a massive partnership, but I think Nintendo might not like the idea, and that's kind of what he's alluding to here. If all this is true though, what are all these insiders and possibly Phil Spencer teasing? And I do think that there are some other things that could happen. Maybe Xbox brings another second-party game to the Switch. They did that with both Ori as well as Cuphead. Maybe they bring over something like, let's say, Battletoads. That's another second-party game that could greatly benefit from having a Switch release. I mean, if it's successful enough, Dlala Studios could even make a sequel, which they have already shown great interest in. I would love a sequel myself, and this could really help make that possible. Now, another possibility is a Smash Bros. Ultimate character. They already managed to get both Banjo-Kazooie and Minecraft in Smash, so who knows? Maybe they could get a third character. Master Chief would be an awesome inclusion. We could finally have that Halo Metroid showdown. There's also the idea that Nintendo could get some classic Rare games considering their history together. So there are several things that could happen here, and I wouldn't get too stuck on any of this until we get more information. It's best to just take everything with a grain of salt right now. Let me know in the comments though on what you think is happening with all this. Will Xbox Game Pass come to the Switch or not? According to David Gibson, it's unlikely to say the least, but nothing is official until Microsoft or Nintendo says something themselves. So I'd like to hear your opinion about this topic. Let's talk about PlayStation though. Some interesting things have been coming out from PlayStation within the last week, and that looks to continue on next week as well. They have a PlayStation China showcase going live April 29th. Sony has been doing this in recent years where they try to showcase some Chinese games in development. I think that's smart because they do seem to have some talent over there, and it's an untapped market in terms of consoles. They do have a lot of potential, and the console market there has been improving, with Nintendo and PlayStation having some success there, and developers are taking notice of that. Really, they have quite a few promising games in development, such as Lost Souls Aside and Black Myth Wukong. Wukong seriously looks absolutely amazing. Very excited about what we've seen so far with that game, and it's one reason I do believe China developers will surprise some people this generation. I think they have some real talent and that will show soon enough. I mean, one of the biggest releases from last year was Genshin Impact, developed by miHoYo, and that just kind of proves what I'm trying to say. They can make some good games, and we might see some of that next week at this conference. Maybe we could get an update for Lost Souls Aside, or possibly Wukong. Nonetheless, don't expect anything huge to happen here, but I will keep you updated on all that if anything interesting does happen. That's not all for PlayStation though. PlayStation Now is getting a nice visual upgrade. Fans have really been wanting Sony to improve PlayStation Now, and they have made some new strides in recent years. You can now locally download games rather than just streaming, and they have been adding some bigger games to PS Now, such as The Avengers. Now, I do believe they need to keep these games longer than just 3 to 6 months, but they have been improving and they're doing that once again. They're now rolling out support for 1080p streaming. Prior to this, you can only stream up to 720p, so that is a nice update. It does put them more in line with their competition. Amazon Luna can reach 1080p, Xbox is currently testing 1080p, and then Google Stadia can reach all the way up to 4K resolution. Now this rollout will take place over the next several weeks, so if you don't have the option already, it will be incoming. I do like what Sony is doing here though. They are continuously trying to improve PS Now, and hopefully they continue to do that. And before I go, let's talk about the poll of the day. There is some speculation that Battlefield 6 will only be on next-generation consoles and PC. We still do not have confirmation on this, so I wanted to know what you all hope for. Do you think Battlefield 6 should only be available on next-generation consoles, or do you think that they should commit to another year of the Xbox One and the PS4? And the results here actually really surprised me. 74% of you do want a next-generation only Battlefield experience. I expected this to be a lot closer because I know some of you have really struggled to get your hands on a PS5 or Xbox Series. But you all have spoken, and what you all want is that next generation only experience. Some of you mentioned concern of another Cyberpunk situation for last generation consoles, and that it would just be better for the developer to just focus on fewer consoles. I have to say, Cyberpunk really did change the industry though, and how people view game releases. It has become the poster child of what not to do. As for Battlefield though, they do intend on doing a big reveal here soon, so it'll be interesting to see what platforms it comes to. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.